Oh, who's calling? Yes, sir, go ahead.
Atkinson,
Here.
Bowen,
Here.
Howell,
Here.
Lockwood,
Here.
Munford, Price, Chair Davenport.
Here. Unless there's additions, changes, or corrections to last month's minutes, motion to accept, please.
So move.
Second.
It's a motion by Ms. Atkinson, second by Mr. Lockwood.
Atkinson,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Lockwood,
Here.
Chair Davenport.
Yes. The next thing, our item is election of officers. We'll move that to the end if y'all don't mind, and that way the people here don't have to wait for us to go through that process, okay? All right. Before we begin our hearings tonight, our counselor, Mr. Hoy Hodges, will tell you what you have to do to get your request approved. Mr. Hodges?
Thank you, sir, and I would ask on all these applications tonight that you make the joint zoning ordinance, the comprehensive plan, staff reports, and any exhibits which may be attached to those staff reports. A part of the record as well, and we need to go ahead and swear in Amy Scott and Rachel Hurt and recognize their qualifications as zoning administrators and also as expert witnesses for their testimony here tonight.
Do you ladies swear to tell the truth? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let's see, the first matter on the docket tonight is a request for a waiver, and then the second one is a request for two waivers and a variance. And in order for the board to approve your waiver, there's certain findings it must make. Those are set forth in KRS 100.243. The board must find that the requested variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, that it will not cause a hazard or a nuisance to the public, that it will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, that it will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning ordinance. The request for a waiver also requires those findings, but in addition to those are certain findings set forth in section 3.8.4 of the zoning ordinance that must be made by the board. The last item on the docket is a request for a conditional use permit, and there are different standards that the board must address and find before your request is approved. The board must find that the use is not detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare in the zone in which it is proposed, that the use will not contribute toward an overburdening of municipal services, that the use will not constitute a nuisance and adequately addresses the review criteria set forth in section 3.9.4 of the zoning ordinance, and that the use otherwise meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance, and that would require any specific use standards that may apply to the conditional use. I mentioned the review criteria in section 3.9.4, and that section states that the applicant must adequately address the review criteria as it may apply to the requested conditional use, one of which is compatibility. So the burden to address the issue of compatibility is upon the applicant. In either case, whether it's an application for a variance or for a conditional use permit, you need a majority vote of those present. A pass vote has no force or effect. And if you're dissatisfied with the result here tonight, you have 30 days to file an appeal, and that would be directly to Warren Circuit Court.
All right, thank you, sir. Two items here. If you're here in regards to the request for the variances on Fair Street, that has been withdrawn, so we'll take no action on that. And if you're here for the conditional use permit for the property in Richardsville for a group living facility, that has also been withdrawn, so we're not taking any action on that. So now, our first request tonight, James Cook has filed an application requesting to waive compatibility standards to allow for a replacement of a manufactured home. The property is located at 2071 Goshen Church South Road and is zoned RE residential estate. Ms. Rachel?
Thank you, Chair Davenport. We seem to be having technical difficulties with the laptop. The slideshow is not going to the next slide, so we may have to do it the old-fashioned way. Wow,
problem.
with your staff reports.
Paper still works.
Yep. So we did have a pre-application meeting back in March, and grabbed the wrong report. Sorry, for this property, we had a pre-application meeting back in June. As you mentioned, thank you. What was I clicking that was on? Oh, okay. Thank you. Had a pre-application meeting back in June for the property on Goshen Church South Road. Let me skip ahead to that, since the first one we're not reviewing. Here we go. Here's the aerial view of the property. And then the current zoning is RE Residential Estate. And the current land use is currently vacant. And this is a photo of the property from the road. And I'll go back to the aerial view, and we'll just leave that up as we go through the staff report. This is actually new. You've not considered a waiver like this before. Recent zoning ordinance amendments have now adopted compatibility standards for all new residential development in Warren County and Bowling Green. And there is an option in the situation where someone wants to replace a mobile or manufactured home, that they can apply for a waiver to relieve them of those compatibility standards. And so that is the application that is before you this evening. You'll note, just looking at page 2, the applicant, as a part of their request, has explained that the former mobile home that was on the property burned in September, and they are now wishing to replace that home, which is why the compatibility standard request has been made, or to waive those requirements. And so those requirements are referenced in section 38310 of the zoning ordinance. But in our review of the application, we found that the proposal complies with the majority of the criteria assessed in the review process, and found the proposal to be generally compatible with the surrounding area. And therefore, our recommendation is for approval, pending any public hearing testimony or discussion. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions of the staff from the board? Board have any questions of the staff? Are the applicants here? You're the applicant. Does the board have any question of the applicant? Any opposition to this request? Any opposition? How about a motion then?
I make the motion to approve the request for a waiver, docket number 2026-V-13. Waive the compatibility standard requirements as outlined in Article 4, Section 4.4.5.c. The testimony presented in the public hearing has shown that the granting of these waivers will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, will not cause a hazard or a nuisance to the public, and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulations. I further find that the waivers will not violate the comprehensive plan, and the extent of waivers of the regulation is the minimum necessary to afford relief to the applicants. The strict application of the provisions of the regulation would deprive the applicants of the reasonable use of the land, or would create an unnecessary hardship on the applicants.
That's a proper motion.
All righty, second by Mr. Lockwood, motion by Ms. Atkinson, second by Mr. Lockwood.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Bone?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Lockwood?
Yes.
Chair Davenport?
Yes, your request has been approved. Thank you all for coming down. Appreciate it. Our next request tonight, Jacob Radford, Rachel Haley, and Janetta Oliver have filed an application requesting a 24% waiver from the maximum 30% lot coverage requirement in the RE zone to allow a total lot coverage of 54% and a 1,247 square foot waiver for an accessory structure larger than the primary residence in order to account for an existing shed. The applicants are also requesting a variance of 3.2 feet to allow an existing garage to extend above the tallest point of the primary residence. The property is located at 248 Van Meter Road and is zoned RE residential estate. Yes, ma'am, maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a pre-application meeting back in April for the property that you mentioned and is highlighted in red. Current zoning is RE. Current land use is single-family residential. We do have a couple of property photos. And then there is the supplied exhibit. And again, the applicants are requesting a variance so that the existing accessory structures can extend above the tallest point of the principal structure, and the applicants are also requesting 2 waivers so that the existing accessory structures can be greater in square footage than that of the principal structure, and for the lot coverage to exceed the maximum requirement of 30%. Looking down at the zoning ordinance reference, they break out each individual request based on the section of the zoning ordinance. So the first one, section 445E2 for the accessory structure height. And again, the variance, they are requesting a variance of 3.2 feet to allow an existing garage to extend above the tallest point of the primary residence. Request number 2 is found in section 445E3 about the square footage there. So they are requesting a waiver of 1,250 square feet to allow all existing accessory structures to be greater in square footage than that of the principal structure. And then lastly, section 445B is the lot coverage maximum there of 30%, and they are requesting a waiver of 24% from the maximum 30% lot coverage to allow the lot coverage to be 54% for that. Looking over at page 2, there are the variance findings. Underneath that are the waiver findings for your reference. The applicants did submit a narrative to address those findings. That starts on the bottom of page 2. Looking over at page 3, in determining whether or not the applicants have provided sufficient information to address the above reference findings for the variance and waiver request, staff suggests that the board consider the below items. While the applicants did not obtain a building permit for the structure in question, it is the understanding of staff that they were unaware of the requirement, and therefore the situation is not the result of a willful violation. The adjacent structure located on the property to the north is taller than the structure in question. The presence of the existing structure therefore has minimal impact on the character of the area as it relates to the building height. Total square footage of the accessory structure that occupied the site prior to the new building also exceeded the floor area of the residence, although the new structure is approximately 600 square feet larger than the previous structure. The board should consider if this is compatible with the surrounding area. There are buildings of similar bulk and scale in the area as well. There are a couple of other properties in the vicinity with lot coverage in excess of 30%, though not as high as 54%. These properties contain a lot coverage of approximately 36%. The applicants could remove the existing gravel that surrounds the new building and achieve the lot coverage that way that is similar to the surrounding properties, with the lot coverage then being about 38%. Staff suggested that the applicant consider this as part of their application, though they expressed they did not wish to remove the existing gravel. As an alternative to removing the gravel, staff suggested that the applicant incorporate a landscape buffer between the existing concrete drive and the gravel area to help minimize the visual impact of the additional parking areas that are not typically found in the vicinity. This would support the waiver finding and exceed the minimums in the RE zone, thus compensating for noncompliance with the requirements to be waived. The applicants communicated to staff that they are unable to install landscaping in the suggested area due to overhead utility lines, although upon site inspection, staff estimates the clear area outside of the overhead utilities to be about 20 feet in width. The board should consider if the lot coverage of 54% without a commitment from the applicants to install landscaping is compatible with the surrounding area and nearby properties. But looking back to page 1, with that being said, the proposal complies with the majority of the criteria assessed in the review process and is generally compatible and consistent with the established character in the vicinity. Therefore, staff recommendation is approval pending public hearing, testimony, and discussion of those findings from page 3. That's all we have for staff report. Happy to answer any questions.
So basically, there were existing structures there, and they replaced one. That's kind of what started this whole,
Correct.
Thing
I
to
do
bring
believe
it.
there was tornado damage,
Okay.
and those replaced,
so that's what's triggered all this, okay? No complaints from anybody, just one, okay. All right, any questions from the, I'm sorry,
I'm finished.
any questions from the staff of the board? Any, are the applicants here? The applicants, okay. Any opposition? Do y'all have any questions of the applicants? Any question of the applicants? Any opposition? Motion, please?
I make the motion to approve the request for a variance and waivers, docket number 2026-V-14, a variance of 3.2 feet to allow an existing garage to extend above the tallest point of the existing primary residence, a waiver of 1,250 square feet to allow all existing accessory structures to be greater in square footage than that of the principal structure, a waiver of 24% from the maximum 30% lot coverage requirements in the RE zone to allow a total lot coverage of 54% in order to account for existence, impervious surfaces and structures. The applications have incorporated other design measures that exceed the minimums of the district and compensate for non-compliance with the requirements to be waived.
All right,
It's a proper motion.
okay. Motion by Ms. Atkinson, second by
Second.
Mr. Lockwood.
Atkinson?
Yes.
Bud?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Lockwood?
Yes.
Chair Davenport?
Yes, your request has been approved. Thank you all for coming down, appreciate it. I was wondering if we could do all that in one motion. Was that what you were looking at me for?
Yeah, since, on a waiver, we need some of the same findings you do on a variance anyway.
yeah,
I thought it was pretty good to include it.
Good deal. Y'all are fine. We were just doing a little house cleaning over here, just questions. Thank you very much. All right, our next,
Otherwise, we had 3 separate motions.
that's why, yeah. Good job, Corey. We didn't have to go through 3 of them. All right, our next request tonight, Chad Lee has filed an application requesting a CUP for a home occupation, more specifically for a barber shop. The property is located at 111 Rembrandt Court and is zoned RE residential estate. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a pre-application meeting on June the 9th for the property that you mentioned, and it's highlighted in red. Current zoning is RE. Current land use is single-family residential. We have a couple of property photos. And here is the submitted site plan. Again, the applicant is requesting a CUP to operate a home occupation, more specifically for a barber shop. There's a zoning ordinance reference, Article 5, Section 5.1, the use table. A conditional use permit is required to operate a home occupation on property zoned RE. Below that is a zoning ordinance reference. Page 2 has those specific use standards for a home occupation for reference. Below that are the supplied conditions. Number 1, days and hours of operation will be by appointment only from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Number 2, will be limited to 2 stations with a maximum of 2 clients or 1 family unit at a time. Number 3, no more than 2 client vehicles on the property at a time. Number 4, if the property is ever sold or the applicant ceases the use, the CUP will be null and void. And number 5, signage will be limited to a wall sign only. Below that are the conditional use permit findings for reference. Looking back at page 1, the proposal complies with the majority of the criteria assessed in the review process and is generally compatible with the surrounding area. Therefore, staff recommendation is approval pending public hearing and testimony of any of the items in the staff report. All we have for a staff report. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions from the board or the staff? Thank you. You're the applicant, I assume? We've got one quick question I want to ask you about, something you don't mind. We'll need to get your name and swear you in.
Okay.
Your full name and address, please?
Chad Lee, 111 Rembrandt Court, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
And you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Just one question or maybe a comment. Obviously, you're putting a business in a residential neighborhood, and this type of business is not unusual. We've approved a lot of them, we've turned down a few. I've got one, in some of them, a lot of them, though, we request that there's no signage on the property, so that way it doesn't look like a business is there. And here you want a wall sign only, which I understand that's on the house. What size sign were you looking at putting on your house? Do you have any idea?
Something small. I actually talked to the board, Kentucky Barber Board, and basically what they're asking me, if this is approved, to like at least put like, because I'm not in an HOA, so like something like on my gutter, so when the barber inspector comes, like it could be something small
Where
that
they can-
could go on my, that shows that it's like got a barber pole like symbol of some type. Long as he said that his words is so the instructor don't pull up at the wrong house and maybe get shot or something.
Okay,
So he said it doesn't have to be big, it can be small. Long as it's, whenever the instructor pulls up, they know that it's
okay.
a barber
All right,
shop.
all right.
So it's something to identify your location. Something
yes, ma'am.
simple, but to identify the location.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir, appreciate it. Any opposition to this request? Seeing none, a motion, please.
I make the motion to approve the conditional use permit docket number 2026-C-16 for a home occupation, more specifically for a barber shop, with the conditions as presented in the staff report. The testimony presented in this public hearing has shown that the use is not detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare in the zone in which they are proposed. The use will not contribute toward an overburdening of municipal services. The use will not result in increased traffic congestion, additional parking problems, substantial increase in population density, environmental problems, or constitute a nuisance, that the use otherwise meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
It's proper.
All right. Motion by Ms. Atkinson, second by Mr. Lockwood.
Atkinson,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Lockwood,
Yes.
Chair Davenport.
Yes, your request has been approved, sir. Thank you very much. Good luck to you. All right, next thing we need to do is election of officers for the upcoming year. Nominations?
I nominate Mike Davenport as chairman and Cortland Atkinson as co-chairman.
And Jim Lockwood as secretary.
Jim Lockwood secretary.
All right. You want to do that by acclamation?
Yes.
Since we're all, is that okay, Hoy? We're doing that all right?
That's fine.
Yeah, all right. Any other second his motion?
Second.
Second, Ms. Lockwood. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right. Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Lockwood,
Yes.
Atkinson,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Chair Davenport.
Yes. Thank you all. Appreciate it. You're serving a good job at it. You know, we're happy. We get along well. Any old business? New business? I've got one comment I want to make, and I'm not for sure. I don't want to say the wrong thing by any means at all. And I do appreciate the recommendations that you all put in here now, whether you approve it or disapprove it. But I got a question about that I want to ask Hoy about. I understand why you do it, and it can come in very handy. Obviously, I believe that many times. But I got a question I want to ask Mr. Hodges to think about. If you all recommend that we approve, let's just use this barber shop tonight as an example, and we turn it down, and he decides to go to circuit court and sue us. Now, we're not like the planning and zoning where it goes to fiscal court or city commissioners. We're going to a judge in circuit court, and then Hoy has to defend us. I'm just curious if y'all's recommendation is to approve it and we go the opposite direction, which it may be to disapprove and we approve whichever way it may be. If we go to court, are they going to use that against us in a lawsuit? And
You know,
is that going to put you in a bad position?
when I first saw that, it immediately came to mind. Because oftentimes, on appeal, there is little or no evidence by the person appealing, where now, since we make the staff report a part of the record, and part of that staff report's the recommendation, they can say, well, the staff thought it was appropriate. And for instance, compatibility seems like it's a big issue anymore on a lot of these appeals. And if the staff recommended approval because it was compatible, and then the board thought it was not compatible, then whoever appeals could argue, well, the board thought it was compatible. So, I have a real issue with that, but I do appreciate it and I understand why you did it, but I just must say now it's going to give the appellant one arrow in their quiver that they would not have otherwise had.
Sure, and Ben probably might have something to add also, but one thing I'll point out is that recommendation, there's a disclaimer on there because it says, it's our recommendation pending any public hearing testimony and discussion, because we've only made this analysis based on the application, what the applicant has told us, what the zoning ordinance says, but we don't know what the public testimony is going to be.
Right.
And we don't know what discussion you all are going to have. So if we've made a recommendation and you feel otherwise, you just have to make different findings to support your motion, to say, well, based on our discussion, I feel like it's not compatible for these reasons, or based on the testimony we've heard tonight, now that there's new information that wasn't in the staff report, we feel, that we need to vote opposite of the staff's recommendation for these reasons. So as long as you're backing it up by the review criteria and the required findings, we've not had issues with any of our other boards, and we do recommendations for all of our other boards too.
Well, I respectfully disagree. I'd already resolved to the fact that, well, okay, I'll just make the argument that staff has no authority anyway to make a decision. If they do, why are y'all sitting here tonight? So it's a decision you have no authority to make, so why include it in a staff report and give an appellant something I have to argue against?
I actually like it being in there, to be honest with you, but I know there's been a couple of times, I don't know if Ben was here or not, where we've had Tom Lewis did it to us twice. He sent it back to us to review again.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just a good excuse to send it back to us where we have to review the same daggone thing again. And unless you change your recommendation and we do the same thing, then we're in a vicious circle. And I'm not against it, trust me. I don't want to give them fuel to make it harder on Hoy or us or you all either, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll say I understand that point, but I'm going to disagree with you too, Hoy. And the recommendations are going to stay. And the reason is this is the only board we don't make recommendations for, the only one. And we haven't had an issue, and we get appealed at Planning Commission quite often, and that has never come up.
Okay.
Now, don't mean it won't tomorrow. The second point is we were one of the very few Planning Commission staff that did not make recommendations in the entire state of Kentucky. And I think the reason is, and what I would hope that you would want a professional Planning Commission staff, I'm going to defend us here for a second.
I'm not
is
against
because,
it.
I understand,
Okay, yeah.
but we are professionals that analyze it based on the merits of what our zoning ordinance says and what the KRS statute says. Doesn't mean we're always right, but you also have the right to disagree, and for the very reasons that Rachel said. So for those reasons, they're staying in there, because now it's become well, why do you make recommendations for all your other boards but not this one?
Okay. Yeah.
And why do all the other Planning Commission staff make recommendations but you all don't?
But
Because we're better than the rest of them.
it's going to be
Just kidding.
imperative.
But the
To Rachel's
decisions
point.
need to be made on the merits of the staff
Right,
and,
yeah.
and the findings.
I have no problem.
And the testimony. So it's going
Yes.
to be imperative, based on all this conversation, that if we disagree, whoever makes the motion, I don't care who, the motion needs to include some kind of, and maybe you guys can help us out on this, the motion needs to include some kind of verbiage that it's based on the testimony heard in this meeting in addition to the documentation. In other words, reference for Hoy's benefit, that it's based on what we heard, not just on the paper, on the information provided.
Yeah, and I want to also, to add to that, point out that it is not disagreeing with staff. It is just staff has pointed out certain things and made a recommendation.
It will be when he gets into court.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't,
With the
I understand that argument, but I've just not seen that happen.
Okay, let me ask this question. When planning and zoning, it goes to fiscal court. Okay, not to circuit court.
Just depends now, but yes.
Okay. Are there attorneys involved if it
Yes.
goes to fiscal court?
Usually, if they were involved at the
Because I
hearing,
know
which there
there's
usually are.
if somebody contests us, it's usually, there's attorneys involved.
I know there's times y'all are recommending stuff or
And
you
yeah.
We've
recommend
been,
not doing
look, we
it.
get overturned by boards.
So this is not
From our
com-
recommendation at every level, and it's fine.
It's not co- this-
It's just a recommendation.
This not come up
This
when,
is not telling you how to vote
Yeah. I
in
mean-
any way, shape, or form.
this hadn't happened at a fiscal court meeting where the attorney said the board did this and the other, y'all haven't had that, okay.
Well, and
But-
again,
and I'm not-
the
I wasn't
fiscal
trying to-
court, just so, it's a little bit different process. The
Oh, yeah.
fiscal court is only affirming or overturning the planning commission's recommendation, because their vote's in the form of a recommendation.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's where the Board of Adjustment actually has more power
Right.
than the planning commission, because your decisions are final when
Right.
it goes straight to circuit court.
Right, yeah. I'm not trying to get stir up a hornet's nest, I just thought,
Yeah.
I saw that and I just thought about it, I thought, well, I don't want
The
to,
opening
you know.
door.
Yeah,
You all are
yeah.
giving them all ideas.
I mean, I don't have
I'm
any
sure they're
problem
watching.
with that.
But, you look at the majority of the appeals, I cannot, very seldom does this board make a decision that disagrees with the staff report anyway. And that's the reason I always ask that the staff report and all the attachments be made a part of the record, because usually you have an applicant that puts on little or no proof, and now I can argue not only what had previously been in the staff report, but now I can say, and the staff even recommended that it be approved, and that's also why I qualify your testimony as expert testimony, thereby rendering expert testimony admissible. So I think 9 times out of, or maybe more than 9 out of 10, I think you making a recommendation is going to help us. I just said
Yeah.
there are, like,
Yeah.
there are going to be
Yeah.
a few times that it might not, but more times than not, I'm in favor of it.
Understand that only counter I have to that is whenever we were doing points to consider, those were essentially the same thing as a
Exactly.
recommendation. Hey, you guys should pay attention to
Yeah.
these things.
Exactly.
And it gets approved anyway.
Yeah.
So this the same force and effect. I've just not seen the issue come
Good.
up in the manner that we're worried about today. If it does, then maybe we'll look at it again. But
Yeah.
for now, we're just trying to make all of our boards consistent
Sure.
and treat all of our applications the same regardless of the board.
Okay.
Well, actually, I liked what you did on it. I mean, I thought it was very good. I just happened to think of that, and I talked to Court, and I thought, I wonder if this could come back to bite us in the butt,
Well, we
but,
don't want to make anything more complicated than it has to be.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have no problem with it, don't misunderstand. It was just,
Again,
and
the
besides that, we had
majority
a
of the
quick
time-
agenda, I thought we'd have something to talk
Yeah.
about.
The vast majority of the time, I'm going to be able to use this to our benefit on
Yeah.
appeal.
One other piece we always do, and we train new board members too, is we tell everyone to think of their decisions in thirds. And so when we write this, it's a third the applicant, because it's their burden of proof to prove how they're compatible or meet the requirements. That's the number one thing. Then the staff report is just our analysis based on the ordinances and the KRS statutes and whatever else. So that's a third. And then the public testimony is a third. And you all can weight that however you want to, and it's your decision, and decide however you want to decide in the majority rules.
Yeah.
So that's all this is. To us, there's really no difference. It's just, we're just being consistent across all of our boards.
Okay, good.
And doing planning best practices.
Sure. Anybody else got any comments? Anything? I'll say this for you, going to some of these training sessions we have to go to, which very little to do with board adjustments 9 times out of 10, but I see other people at these meetings from different communities and how you all do things compared to some other communities in this state, including Louisville, Kentucky, some of the bigger communities. Y'all do an outstanding job.
I appreciate that.
I mean, you really do. Because you can look around some of these other communities and they do things, I mean, and every now and then we'll talk to them at a break or something, and it's just amazing. I mean, you all make our job so much easier, and you're so professional, and you do really a great job. I just thought, so we weren't against the recommendation. I just thought, I just wondered.
Well, just so it's on the record, I'll just point out, we modeled our staff reports after the National Planning, the American
Good.
Planning Association
Good.
Staff reports, when we did that probably in 2017, 18, whenever we switched staff reports.
Yeah.
And again, staff recommendation is part of that. So.
We all do a great job, and we do, and all the board appreciates it. We talk about it. Y'all do a good job. All right, any other new business, old business, anything else? Thank you for letting us just question that. Appreciate it. We're adjourned.